Welcome to Slammed, a Boston Celtics podcast brought to you by Odyssey. I'm Meghan Ottolini of WEI, joined by Jayson Turpin, also of WEI and Odyssey. And we're coming off an unexpected loss from the Celtics, tip off of the NBA Cup. That's the newly rebranded in-season tournament. And if you hear any screeching noises, they're taking down the court, like in a room next to us. We're in the bowels of TD Garden. So that just lets you know how authentic this workplace is, because that game just wrapped, I don't know, about an hour ago. Quickly got into post game, and that 117-116 loss to a Hawks team without Trae Young. What's your biggest takeaway just from the jump here, Justin?
Yeah, from the jump, it's as simple as they got beat at their own game. 20 turnovers, 20 offensive rebounds allowed. They got outshot here by 25 shots, more shots by Atlanta. That's just can't happen. You're not going to win many games like that. And I thought Joe Mazzulla, right from the start, right from the opening couple minutes of his press conference, it was as clear as it can be. They got outshot, they got out hustled, they just got out tough. They didn't deserve to win this game, and he was right on with that.
Yeah, I thought one of the more interesting aspects that we heard about post game was Derek White saying, trying to answer for the starts of these games being so slow and saying that's on the starters. They got to figure that out. Like, they're taking accountability for that. But honestly, throughout most of the game, yeah, I think the Hawks came out 1 for 6 from behind the three, and the Celtics were 1 for 8. And so it was just a sloppy, really hard to watch product from like a basketball watching perspective. But on top of it, their turnovers, the struggle on inbound passes, the inability to stop anybody at the rim on the other side. They really lost every margin of the game. And I just wrote this for WEI.com, but I felt like in a sick way, it was an experiment of how far can you stretch the limits of that one stat being 3-point shooting and 3 points attempted. And I think this is when you're playing a mediocre team at best without their star in the Eastern Conference. These are the results that you're going to see from the world champs.
Right. And when you're playing a mediocre team, the one way to let them into games is turn the ball over, let up offensive rebounds, give them extra possessions. And that's what you did. Again, 25 more shots than you. You can't stress that number enough because it's basic math. And that's what the Celtics basketball is. I know a lot of people like to think it's 3-pointers, but it's really based off the margins in the math game. And they got smoked in the math game tonight, and they lost because of it. So they know better. They know that that's not how you can't play basketball. But yeah, that's a bad look tonight, especially against a shorthanded team, because you know you can't do that.
Absolutely. So you have been very closely watching each one of these games over the past couple, how many ever, since the Warriors loss. And we were talking in the press box. You're saying, like, you feel like there's just been a little bit of a struggle with this team recently. And I think that was reflected in a lot of the comments that you heard post game. Jayson Tatum was in the locker room, says human nature plays into that at some point. Jaylen Brown was very open about it. Again, like I said, Derek White before. Do you feel like it's early in the season? We're not even at Thanksgiving yet for this team to be talking about human nature and needing to start better?
I don't, because typically those championship hangovers come earlier, right? And if you're the Celtics now, after tonight, you're still sitting here at 9-3. You're happy with it, but you know you can be better. So I think it's being accountable, like having a loss like tonight. Like, this is probably one we're going to talk about at the end of the year. This is one of those marquee losses that they just can't have because it's a classic old Celtics. It's the old version of the Celtics. Not getting up for a game that you're supposed to get up for, not only because it's an in-season tournament game, that wasn't really on their mind. It's the fact that this is a shorthanded Hawks team that you should be blowing the doors off at home. So it's just reverting to the old selves. And like, I think that's something people were concerned about at the beginning of the year. What was going to deter this team? Is we're going to be health and reverting back to the old version of the Celtics. And that's what they did tonight.
I have to ask your opinion on this. I'm sure you know my opinion because I hate this kind of conversation, and you know that about me. But it was a question that was thrown out there post game to Joe Mazzulla about if any of the guys noticed a difference playing on that. I called it like the super parquet, the giant green parquet floor that they put out. Yeah, because it reminded me of like a Mario game or something, like where you eat something and all of a sudden Mario goes like bloop 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 and he grows 3 sizes.
The podcast Mario.
That's what the super yes you were on before. That's what the parquet looks like to me. But anyway, and the question was the floor an aspect of this? Was the special ball throwing anybody off? And Missoula was like, nah, that wasn't it. And I just wonder if you think that played into anything. Obviously, I think it's ridiculous.
No, that is the most ridiculous level of excuse making you can possibly have. The only part that really even looked like the court came into effect at all, you and I reacted to it in the press box, was when Al Horford fell in the cylinder. That was it.
Mhm.
He took one spill. For the most part, everyone was good standing up the whole time. And to blame a basketball, I mean, come on, come on. It has a couple logos of brackets on it. It's not like it's not a regulation ball.
So I do think with NBA players, anytime that you change the environment, and this was a big thing that happened when they went down to Disney in 2020 during the pandemic playoffs. Like the environment changing does play into the game somewhat, but it didn't really seem to bother the Hawks. So I can't say that it was such an issue for the
They
Celtics.
shot 50% from the field and 40% from three. Like they shot totally
Right.
fine.
And that they picked up steam as they went along.
Right.
Like they had a very bad start, and then they figured it out. Al Horford helped out, Derek White helped out, Jayson Tatum got in there. I guess last point from me was it's kind of unfortunate that we had the loss that we had, because Jaylen Brown, he misses the chance to be the hero tonight. And I thought overall he finished with 6 turnovers, so he was a big part of the problem, but he also was the motor for the team this entire game. And I think it's a lot to put on him to be out there for the entire first quarter. The first time he's ever done that alongside Tatum in his career. Both guys played the entire first quarter. And then to have to wait around for the other starters and his teammates to basically catch up to his approach, his physicality, just to get up for this game.
Yeah, without him and Derek White, this game's a lot different. Like
And Derek White's so dependable. Like we just kind of take that for granted at this point.
It's funny because you feel like he's not being talked about a ton, and that just means he's doing his job. It's almost like a cornerback in football. Like
yeah.
he's just shutting down.
If you hear his name, it's like, wait, what's going on?
yeah.
What's going on with him?
What did he do when you hear his name? Because it's just he's so reliable. You just expect him to do his job night in and night out. And honestly, I was started to write up my game story after he had the contest and then had a deep three that gave him the lead. I mean, those are the type of plays he makes. It's a shame that you waste that Jaylen game though, because it's his first real big scoring night of the year. He finally looked to be himself coming off the injury, and he just couldn't get it done. But yeah, they got to be better. They got to be better. I mean, looking at Tatum tonight, 5 of 16, 20 points. I mean, it has to be better.
Absolutely. So the Celtics' next NBA Cup game that they have is next week against the Cavs. That's actually absolutely a big one. Like, not because it's an NBA Cup game necessarily, as fun as the in-season tournament may turn out to be this year. The Cavs, as we sit here tonight, remain unbeaten. That is the number 1 team in the NBA right now. So hopefully they can get up for that challenge. Hopefully, like, that gives them a little spark as they get through this early stretch of the regular season.
Right. Like, you never want to see them not be up for a game, but this one's kind of understandable. I know it's the first game of the NBA Cup, but I don't think it really does it that much for the players. I think it does when push comes to shove and you start to playing for the point differential, but going into it, I don't think they're changing anything. They really want to play to their motto, which is that mindset, which they got away with.
Don't tell that to Jordan Walsh, who would probably like that $500,000 bonus at the end of the year.
Well, I wrote about this at weei.com this morning. So for guys like Luke Cornett and Xavier Tillman, guys that you can reward for taking less money to come back here, for Tillman, it's 22% of hhis salary.
Wow.
And for Luke Cornett, it's 17. And Jordan Walsh and Namish Queta make less than those two.
So I was going to ask, because I was efforting to double check this before the game. The two-way guys do get the full bonus.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. But for the two-way guys, it's Anton Watson, JD Davidson, and Drew Peterson. So none of those guys are with the team. It'd be more so with the guys that are there.
I'm just thinking like everybody down the entire roster, the full roster gets it.
And Drew Peterson and JD Davidson were here last year. And shout out JD Davidson. Really, he could become the all-time leading scorer in Maine Celtics franchise history tomorrow night.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Shout out to my main peeps. You know that I love you. All right. This has been Slammed. We're going to have a lot more content for you this week. We're going to have our regular Thursday episode. We're going to have episodes from WEI on Wednesday. And we're going to have a look at behind the curtain of practice on Friday for you, in addition to all our other wonderful content content on weei.com. So if you enjoy this, please like, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. Maybe we'll get on Blue Sky. I don't know. I'm experimenting with that. We'll see. Follow us on Instagram. We're everywhere that you guys get your content. Thanks so much.